Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister. We're in Bible study. So, we are in the NIV, and we will be through all of 2025. Next year, January 1st, 2026, we will start the KJV. In this video, we are in the book of Genesis. We are in chapter 41, and we are doing all of chapter 41 in one video. It is 57 verses. So let's jump in. This one is called Pharaoh's Dreams. Joseph is in prison. The baker and the cupbearer forgot he existed. Now, the baker got his head chopped off, so he wasn't going to be able to help to Joseph. That's for sure. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile, when out of the river there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed among the reeds. After them 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the riverbank. And the cows that were ugly and gaunt ate up the 7 sleek, fat cows. I guess they're healthy coats is what they mean by sleek. Then Pharaoh woke up. When he fell asleep again and had a second dream, 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched by the east wind. Then the thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy, full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. In the morning, his mind was troubled. So he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told them his dreams, and no one could interpret them for him. They didn't even try? Or it just didn't make any sense. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Today I am reminded of my shortcomings. Pharaoh was once angry with his servant, and he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Now, a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dream. And things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, and the other man was hanged, NIV, or impaled." I thought he decapitated, but whatever, he's dead. And he said so. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. When he had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh, so at least they cleaned him up. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that you can hear dreams. When you hear dreams, you can interpret it. I cannot do it." Joseph replied to Pharaoh, "But God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." That's the more proper answer. Yes. Everything we can do only because God empowers us. The Pharaoh said to Joseph, "In my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile, when out of the river there came up 7 cows, fat and sleek, and they grazed upon the reeds. After them 7 other cows came, scrawny and very ugly and lean. I had never seen such ugly cows in all the land of Egypt. Then the lean, ugly cows ate up the 7 fat cows that came up first. But even after they ate them up, no one could tell that they had done so. They looked just as ugly as before. Then I woke up." That sounds like a terrible dream to me. I don't want to see one cow eating another cow in my dreams. Just no thank you, right? "In my dreams, I also saw 7 heads of grain, full and good, growing on a single stalk. After them 7 other heads sprouted, withered and thin, and scorched by the east wind. Then the heads of grain swallowed up the 7 good heads. I told this to the magicians, but none could explain it to me. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 ugly cows, lean ugly cows, came up afterwards are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance of Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance of the land will not be remembered, because the famine that follows it will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. Now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint a commissioner over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh to be kept in the cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so the country will not be ruined by the famine. So, a very smart move. This plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all of his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" I got a footnote of A. Or of the gods, because, Pharaoh believed in multiple gods. And then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and as wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all of my people are to submit to your orders. Only with your respect to the throne will I be greater than you." Okay, so he put Joseph in charge of everything. Joseph in charge of Egypt is the next heading there, verse 41. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." And then Pharaoh took a signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, B, or in the chariot of his second command, or in his second chariot. Okay, and men shouted before him, "Make way," or bow down. Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word no one will lift a hand or foot in all of Egypt." Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zapanath Paneah, and gave him Asnath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. That is, Heliopolis, yeah, to be his wife. And Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt, because he would have to if he's going to gather all the grain. Joseph was 36 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentiful. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt and stored it in the cities. In each city, he put the food grown in the fields surrounding it. So, it's not like he was transporting it. He just had a bunch of food storage units built to store it in location, which is smarter. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain, like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. Before the years of famine came, two sons were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh, which of course is a location. Manasseh sounds like, and maybe derived from the Hebrew for forget. And he said, "It is because God has made me forget all my troubles and all my father's household." The second son he named Ephraim, which again is another country. Ephraim sounds like the word for twice fruitful. And he said, "It was because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering." The 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. There was a famine in all other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food. Then Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph and do what he tells you." When the famine had been spread over the whole country, Joseph opened the storehouses and sold grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout Egypt. And all the other countries came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was so severe in all the world. Now, why was he selling it to his own people instead of just feeding his own people? Because, the famine is from God, and God told him, store this up so you can feed them. He didn't say use them. That's usury. God doesn't like usury. Just careful with that. Fair and just. No usury.